Welcome to the Alaska SPCA's Spayghetti 2022. I'm Jackie Purcell, a pet parent and animal lover, as well as a meteorologist for Alaska's Weather Source on Channel 2 and CBS 5. It is my pleasure to be your host tonight. This is the 10th edition of this fundraising event, and the pandemic means we have had to do things a little differently, but we are glad you could join us for pasta, pets, and positivity. Even though we are virtual this year, we've kept the core parts of the event: a pasta dinner, silent auction, and a chance to meet some of our shelter pets. I hope you are enjoying the classic Spayghetti dinner, either with your bubble of friends and family or maybe with your four-legged friends. Paul Spadora and Impressions Catering are the chefs behind the scenes of this year's dinner, so a thank you to them. Now, the auction portion this year is virtual, so you'll get a quick lesson on how to find items and how to bid a little later in the program. Items up for auction this year include Alaskana collectibles, travel packages, one-of-a-kind themed baskets, and sports memorabilia. Proceeds from the auction go to support the Alaska SPCA shelter, pet food bank, and low-cost veterinary care. Lastly, we are going to introduce you to some of our shelter pets currently looking for loving homes. These pets are counting on you and your generosity. Now let's look at some of the lives touched through shelter adoptions, low-cost veterinary care, and rural outreach. This is the work the Alaska SPCA does every day.
Every day. That's how often our animals touch our hearts and lift us up. That's how often someone makes the important decision to open a forever home to a dog or a cat as a chosen family member. That's how often the Alaska SPCA impacts our communities by reducing the suffering of Alaska's companion animals every day.
The Alaska SPCA was founded in 1955. Our mission is to relieve the suffering of Alaska's companion animals. And very few people realize this, but we are not affiliated with the national American SPCA. In fact, we do not receive regular funding from any national organization, and the donations received by Alaskans stay here in the state.
The Alaska SPCA offers low-cost, high-quality veterinary services. Spay and neuter is one of the most important. We also provide dentistry, digital radiology, vaccinations, and microchipping. Bringing spay and neuter services to remote locations throughout Alaska is making a difference too.
You know, and our organization's mission is reducing the suffering of Alaska's companion animals. One big part of our mission is the spay and neuter clinic. In addition to these spay and neuter services, we are able to do dental cleanings, dental procedures, especially mouths that have really bad dental disease that otherwise the clients are not able to get taken care of elsewhere.
We do have a mobile unit, so we can go, just about anywhere the road system goes. And what this allows us to do is reach places that aren't served by veterinarians. So giving people the opportunity to be able to use our services gives us closer to that goal of having, our pets in homes where they belong.
The Alaska SPCA has been the starting place for some truly perfect outcomes.
In February of 2019, we went to the Alaska SPCA and we were looking around to try to add a new member to our family. And we saw Ollie.
And I love the breed, so I'm really familiar with the traits, like the smiling, the fact they have no tail, so when they get happy, I always call them Wiggle Butt.
I don't feel like Ollie's owner. I feel like Ollie's friend. And he lives with us because he agrees to live with us. So it's been a wonderful ride, and we're really glad that we could offer Ollie a forever home.
Well, I was working at the shelter, and we were kind of thinking of another cat. And when we got Twister in at the shelter, I told the person at the shelter, I said, he's going home with me.
He's been a great cat, sits on Mo's lap every night, and I play with him every day. Yeah, you talk? You do? We're cat people.
This is Hondo. He had a broken pelvis when we got him. We fostered him. He Immediately just started to gain weight after a little bit of love and TLC. His pelvis was broken, and so Dr. Davidson went in and took the head of the femur bone off and then readjusted his bone and closed up, and it was about a 3-hour surgery, and it was a successful one.
Well, Juno is about 6 years old, right?
He's 5.
5 or 6. We got him from the Alaska SPCA. He came from a village.
He's big and he's soft.
Kind of like a big teddy bear. Before we got Juno, my mom had very, very little interest in another cat because she was usually the one who cleaned the litter box. For every single Alaska SPCA board meeting, my dad would send a text and a photo asking if he could bring it home. And her deal was if you clean the litter box. And he really liked Juno. He does clean the litter box.
So this is Willa. I got her from the SPCA about a year ago, this month actually. She's missing her right eye, and she went to the animal control. So they sent her to the SPCA and they removed the eye, but it doesn't hinder at all. She bounces all around the house all the time. When I brought Willa home, within 15 minutes she was on the couch with me just purring away. My husband hasn't always been a cat person, so he was hesitant. It took me a while to kind of encourage him to get a cat, and now he's a Willa person. He likes the Willa the cat.
She came from Nome and had a pretty rough life. She's been remarkably resilient and is healthier than ever before right now.
Every morning we wake up and she'll jump out of bed and her tail will be wagging, and it's just this little, nugget of happiness that greets us every morning. We kind of have a running joke too, because when Taquito sleeps, she kind of snores and chortles in her sleep. And so does the baby a little bit. So sometimes we'll look at each other and say, was that the baby or was that Taquito?
This is Mr. Pickles, and this is the story on how I got him. I went in to look around and I seen Mr. Pickles there. He's looking at me, he's happy, wagging his tail. They told me about him, how he had his one eye and he came from a village. I brought him home, gave him a bath. Here he is, happy as can be. Everybody just loves him, and we do. He will be our dog for the rest of his life.
She came by herself from rural Alaska. Naga and I clicked a lot, and I just fell in love with her, and so I ended up adopting her. Life is great with Naga. She brings a lot of joy to not only my life, but my family's life as well. She's part of the pack. We have other dogs at home, and she brings her own unique qualities. She's a lot faster than them. She'll steal all the bully sticks, and she doesn't care, and they let her. Yeah, sneaky like a fox. See?
So I was kind of looking for a cat. I hadn't had a cat in a long time, and I knew I wanted an older cat. I walked to the SPCA thrift store, and there was Lenny, previously known as Muffin. They said, oh, he's a good cat. He's a little bit older, he's 12, and he had a thyroid problem. So he needed medication every other day, and I was like, that's no problem for me. So I filled out my application, and then they told me when a senior adopts a senior, it's free. So that even sweetened the deal there. He's not real snuggly, but he sits very close to me, and he's just a cool cat.
This is Oreo, and Oreo came to the Alaska SPCA from Nome, Alaska. He was a surrender. He came to the agency with horrible teeth, and he has a bad, I call it a floppy foot, but it's just a deformity. And he's 14 years old, so quite elderly. The ED of Alaska SPCA asked me to foster him. So I had him for a couple months, and it became really obvious to me that I was getting attached. He's kind of changed everyone's life, but in a good way. And I'm very glad that he came my way. In fact, I'm kind of getting teary just telling you the stories.
Every day, you make our work possible. Alaska SPCA is only able to help the animals that so desperately need us through your generous support. Through your donations, your volunteer efforts, your gifts of food and supplies, your willingness to give foster care, we can continue to provide Alaska's pets with the love, attention, and medical care they need. Your impact is enormous and makes an incredible difference. every day.
These stories are just the tip of the iceberg. In 2021, the Alaska SPCA distributed more than 10,000 pounds of pet food to families in need, performed more than 5,000 spay and neuter procedures, protected pet and human health by administering more than 24,000 pet vaccinations, and found loving homes for more than 200 abandoned dogs and cats. The need is endless. That is why your support is so important.
Hi, and welcome to the 2022 Alaska SPCA Spayghetti Silent Auction. We've got all kinds of unique products and packages, including many from our local business partners. You can get to the auction site that you see in front of you on the Alaska SPCA website, www.alaskaspca.org. The auction is going to open at 12:01 a.m. Friday, February 18th, and will be available for bidding until the following Monday, February 21st at 6 p.m. So let's browse a bit. As I mentioned, many of these items have been donated by local businesses and artisans. This is a very wide range of selections, from handcrafted items like the woofer wearables and this quilt, to some very nice carvings and Alaskana kinds of things. We also have jewelry and baskets that our local vendors have put together, as well as sports memorabilia, a photography package offered by David Jensen Photography, and unique experience such as a NASCAR driving experience or the Top Gun flight experience in Mesa, Arizona. Perhaps you are a baseball fan and you'd like this signed David Ortiz Boston Red Sox autographed baseball. To bid, you're going to click on the See Details to learn a little bit more about this particular item. You'll see what the starting bid is, what the current bid is, and a description of the item. Enter your bid number and tap Look Up. You can decide what is the most that you want to spend on this. Your bid won't go in at that. It will simply bid up to the next increment. So for example, if this baseball, if the bid increments are $5 and you are entering the bid, your bid would be $480. But the system will allow you to decide what is the max you want to spend, and it won't bid over that max. That's really all there is to it. Once the auction closes at 6 p.m. on Monday, the system will notify you by the method that you have selected to let you know if you were in fact the winning bidder. Keep in mind, this is a fundraising auction. We really want to see as much activity as possible because we are doing Spayghetti a little differently. The silent auction is really important as one of our fundraising events. If you have questions about how to participate in the silent auction, reach out to either Rebecca Tesh or Kelly Donnelly. You can reach us at 562-2999. And thanks for joining us.
The Alaska SPCA would like to thank the following local businesses for their support and auction donations.
We Alaskans love our four-legged friends. These sweet pups and cats are hoping that you or someone you know might be able to open hearts and homes to give these pets a second chance. If any of these pets captures your heart, you can submit and fill out an adoption application on the Alaska SPCA website, www.alaskaspca.org. Now you know a little more about one of Alaska's oldest animal welfare organizations. Thank you for joining us for Spayghetti 2022. The silent auction is open until 6 p.m. Monday evening, and know that you are helping to save animal lives and prevent suffering.